Learning, it's something we do every single day that we spend on this amazing planet of ours. Our principle around learning is called Avid Learners. A great learner begins by asking questions. It's a common theme in our principles. We talked about it in communication. We talked about it in Colleague Strengthen. The concept of being curious and asking questions. To be an avid learner requires a system. Create a system of learning. Creating a system of learning takes work. As I go through these principles and attempt to incorporate them into my life, learning has been one of the principles that I find myself going back to all the time. I find myself asking the question, how can I make my learning greater than the experience? So when we talk about learning, beginning to ask questions, I'm specifically talking about focusing on asking questions such as, when I went through an experience, what went right? How can I do more of that? And knowing what I know today, what would I do differently? Those are great questions to ask. It takes blame out of the equation. Whether the experience was a great experience or the experience was an experience that we wish would have happened, something would have happened differently, by asking those questions, it puts us in a space of learning. What would I do differently if I had to do it over again? I'd like to share a story with you that happened right here inside the walls of this company. Someone made a decision that they wanted to make a difference. They wanted to improve something. So they went about, sat with their supervisor and said, I'd like to have a budget to make something better in the company, to improve a process. He was given a budget, given a timeline, and given a task to follow through on his vision. And he went through that vision and did an amazing job. Just a few days later, there was an issue, a problem, which affected the company in a rather negative way. Our systems went down, our network went down, and it was traced back to a certain aspect of that project. This relatively young new employee must have felt terrible. And I found myself face to face with him in the hall one day. And I had a choice to make. I could ignore him. I could admonish him. Or I can create an experience, a learning experience for both he and I. So I sat with him for a few moments and I talked to him. And he was a bit sheepish, knowing that I knew what had happened. And I went through the process with him and I said, so let's talk about what worked. And there were so many things that worked, and it was an amazing new process that he developed. And then I asked, knowing what I know today, or knowing what you know today, what would you have done differently? And a couple of things that would have probably avoided some of those issues, he would have done differently. So what happened? He had an experience, and I said, let's make the learning greater than that experience. Now, the truth of the matter is, I learned from that experience probably more than he did, on how powerful that tool can be, on how powerful having a system of learning, a system of making learning greater than the experience, in this case, by just asking a couple of questions. What went right? What would I do differently if I had to do this over again? It taught me such a powerful lesson that I tried to incorporate not only in my work life, but in my daily life at home as well. I find myself being a better leader because of it. And I hope that all of you can look inside yourselves and say, how can I become a better leader? How can I become an avid learner? As we continue to strive on delivering on our commitment to be designers of the ultimate shopping experience for our customer's customer. Being an avid learner, making learning greater than the experience, is an amazing tool in your toolbox, not just here in our company, but in your lives. Thank you.